So thank you very much, everyone, for joining this session. I know some of you are already from Prince Sultan University. For those who are not, this is a session that is organized by the Linguistics and Translation Department at the College of Humanities and Sciences at Prince Sultan University. The aim of the session is actually in the department, we are very focused on quality education, just like PSU. And so we try every couple of months to take one teaching motto and to discuss it among ourselves by different faculty members. And today I'm doing one session, and there will be more sessions on student engagement, which is our second motto. Our first motto was teaching with empathy. Now we're talking about student engagement. So there will be other sessions of student engagement to come. Now for today, what I want to talk about is student engagement, as I said, which is the second motto for that our applied linguistics, that our linguistics and translation department is taking forward this month. And I'd rather start with two posters. My colleagues in the department, these posters are available hard copy. Just let me know if you need one for your office. Would rather have one day of authentic student engagement than a career of handing out worksheets. Who doesn't? Yes, definitely we all do. You could be the most brilliant, informed person on earth, but if your class is in a state of boredom, your teaching isn't making an impact. And the fact that I'm coming from more of a research background, I'm very much into research. The word impact now is extremely important in research. They always ask not only how many papers you publish, but what is the impact of that on the society? What has your papers done to people? What difference has it made? Right? We can all keep publishing, but then maybe one single project would make a change to people's lives is better than 100 papers. And the same thing also with our class. You can be teaching. What was the impact? Have you really created any impact on your students' learning? Have you really created impact on students' lives? That's the question. And I think this is where student engagement comes in. And since student engagement, there is so much research that proves that student engagement is very closely linked to student success. So it is definitely a topic that is worth discussing. And definitely, we would like to start with definition for student engagement. Different definitions are there in the literature. Just a couple of them here. One of them is from Newman, the student's psychological investment in and the effort directed toward learning, understanding, or mastering knowledge, skills, or crafts that academic work is intended to promote. This is one suggested definition. I also looked at the definition in the Glossary of Education Reform, and it says it's the degree of attention, curiosity, interest, optimism, and passion that students show. Actually, I like the word passion a lot because I think, yes, it's about passion also very much involved here. And interest, of course, that students show when they are learning or being taught, which extends to the level of motivation. Definitely motivation, engagement, involvement are all very closely connected. They have to learn and progress in their education. Generally speaking, the concept of student engagement, I'm sorry, there was something here that I missed, I'm sorry. So it's so many ideas, involvement, motivation, interest, curiosity, passion, all that goes into student engagement. But because I really wanted to know, you know, it's difficult to deal with such concepts. You know, everybody would say, yes, so student engagement. How can I measure it? You know, I'm kind of a person who likes to know tangible things somehow, as much as we can, in order to be really saying, so is my class really engaged or not, you know? So I liked a lot, and I don't know if you're already familiar with this, the National Survey of Student Engagement, which is common in so many different countries, particularly in North America. And it is used in different universities to measure the amount or the to assess student engagement in these universities. I I've been actually reading about this survey for some time, and I like a lot that I will share with you now some facts and figures about this survey, and then from there we can look at its indicators. And this is what I liked a lot, that there are indicators, there are things that you can say, well, student engagement can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you can start reflecting, you know, and say, so in 1, I think I did it. In 2, I've achieved 50%. In 3, you know, it's this is what indicators give you, is that it always gives you room for reflection on your performance, reflection on what you're offering, and then improvement. Okay, this is what I always like about indicators. In terms of SE facts and figures, I'd just like to share some information with those who are not familiar with the survey. NSSE annually collects information at hundreds of 4-year colleges. Maybe this will ring a bell for everybody here from Prince Sultan University or from other universities. Very common to our context, about first year and senior year students in programs and activities that institutions provide for the learning and personal development. The results provide an estimate of how an undergraduates spend their time and what they gain from attending college. This survey provides participating institutions a variety of reports that compare their students' responses with those of students at selected groups of comparison institutions. So as you can see, there are comparisons here. You can learn, you can benchmark how much student engagement you have in your university versus other universities. Such information can be very useful for you as an institution to improve, but it can also be very useful, by the way, for the students, because some of this data is made available publicly, and so students can, you know how students are like. Students are not only here to study, but they want to enjoy themselves during these 4 years and have some fun as well, right? So these figures could really influence student enrollment as well, as I read in the literature. Comparisons are available for 10 engagement indicators, and these are the ones I will talk about today, and 6 high impact practices. I won't have time to discuss this one, but just for those who would like to read about it, very interesting ideas as well. And all individual survey questions. Each November, the NSSE also publishes its annual results, which reports topical research and trends in student engagement results. NSSE researchers also present and publish research findings throughout the year. Some more facts and figures about NSSE is that bachelor's degree granting institutions participate in this survey to assess the quality of undergraduate education. Yes, I mean, student engagement is closely connected to quality of the education you are offering as an institution. Providing institutions diagnostic, actionable information. I like a lot the word actionable information, because based on the indicators, you can know I'm not doing well here, so this is where my institution should really work. Or I'm doing very well here, you know, let's keep the good work up. So I like a lot the word actually actionable information. I like reports that tell me, so what should I do? You know, not reports that give you vague information and you don't really know where to go next. So it's actionable information that fosters and catalyzes evidence-based improvement efforts. Isn't this what we're all talking about nowadays in education? That we want to make improvement that is evidence-based. We just don't want to make so many things and then there is no evidence that shows that what we're doing is really, will really bear the fruit that we want, right? NSSE registration opens in June, closes in October for the following spring administration. Well, 601 colleges and universities have participated in NSSE 2020. Over 1,650 have participated since 2000. So we're talking about something that has been working for over 20 years now with big numbers of universities. So it's something that is somehow definitely credible. Student participation, 484,242 students responded to NSSE in 2020, and approximately 6 million students have completed the survey since 2,000. I thought I should share with you these facts and figures before I move on to the second part, which is more relevant to our session today, the indicators, but because just to know what kind of survey we're talking about. So now the indicators come. This is what I was really very interested in. And the indicators here, we have 10 engagement indicators, and these 10 engagement indicators are classified into 4 themes. So what I will do now is the following. I will discuss each theme with the engagement indicators, and then I will try to use them to reflect on one of the courses I'm teaching to see the level of engagement I'm trying to provide for my students. And I'll be very happy to listen to your reflections as well, if you'd like, or to suggested strategies you would come up with to improve engagement in these particular themes. So this is what I will do now. I will take one theme at a time with relevant indicators. I'll explain what they mean based on the definition of an SSE. Then I will focus on one course. Actually, it's my course that I'm teaching this semester, which is ELP 408, English for Political Communication. Of course, we can use these indicators to reflect on the department performance, on the college performance, on the university performance. You can take it at different levels, but I will take it only about a course. I want to see how well I'm doing in this course. But of course, you can take it always at the university level and see what needs to be improved. And then I will, of course, be very happy to listen to your suggestions as well. And I will allow this, allow you just to raise your hand and share what you would like to say. Let me start with the first one. The first theme for student engagement is academic challenge. Students, in order to be engaged, they need to be challenged. And this theme consists of 4 indicators, or matches with 4 indicators. One indicator is higher order thinking, higher order learning. Challenging intellectual and creative work is central to student learning and collegiate quality. Colleges and universities promote high levels of student achievement by calling on students to engage in complex cognitive tasks requiring more than memorization of facts. The engagement indicator captures how much students' coursework emphasizes challenging cognitive tasks such as application, analysis, judgment, and synthesis. And of course, you all remember Bloom's taxonomy here and the level of simply, just gaining some knowledge versus analyzing versus application versus et cetera, et cetera. So this is the first one, higher order learning. This increases student engagement. Another one under academic challenge is reflective and integrative learning, and it is defined as personally connecting with course material, requires students to relate their understandings and experiences to the content at hand. So you relate to what you're learning, not feel so much distant and it doesn't relate to you. Instructors emphasizing reflective and integrative learning motivate students to make connections. These connections are very important between what they learn and between the world around them. Then this helps them to re-examine their own beliefs, to consider issues and ideas from other people's perspectives. So reflective and integrative learning is a second indicator of engagement under academic challenge. Sorry. A third one is learning strategies. College students enhance their learning and retention by actively engaging with and analyzing course material rather than approaching them as absorption. So the more that the students are encouraged to analyze the course materials, the better. Examples of effective learning strategies include identifying key information in readings, reviewing notes after class, and summarizing course material. Knowledge about the prevalence of effective learning strategies helps colleges and universities target interventions to promote student learning and success. The last one under academic challenge is quantitative reasoning. And quantitative literacy is the ability to use and understand numerical and statistical information in everyday life. It is an increasingly important outcome of higher education. all students, regardless of major, and I like the word regardless of major because I myself come from a background of humanities, and all students, regardless of major, should have ample opportunities to develop their ability to reason quantitatively, to evaluate, support, and critique arguments using numerical and statistical information. Now, this is the summary of what we've done so far. These are the four indicators that we've discussed under academic challenge. Higher order learning, which mainly involves using challenging cognitive tasks. Reflective and integrative learning, which is connecting with course materials. Learning strategies, engaging with and analyzing course materials. Quantitative reasoning, using and understanding numerical and statistical information. Does anybody have any suggested strategies that we can use, or any tasks that we use that would really help students to improve any of these indicators, or we improve any of these indicators in our classrooms? If you have, you can either chat or you can raise your hand and allow you to unmute and share with us. Any strategies that you think the teacher could use in class to enhance, or outside class, to enhance any of these: higher order learning, reflective and integrative learning, learning strategies, quantitative reasoning, which are all indicators of student engagement under academic challenge. Now I have here Mel, I have a question. Yes, please, Mel, would you like to, let me allow you to unmute? Just a minute, please. Yes, please, Mel, go ahead. Mel?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. These four themes that you've mentioned here, I was curious what kind of a student, how do they define the student?
The survey was used, as I shared before, with undergraduate students, and they've been used them with freshmen and seniors, and they've been used since 2000 for hundreds of institutions, mainly in North America.
What I mean is, what kind of a human being do we have in our classes? For example, so I noticed they focused a lot on cognitive tasks and connecting with course, engaging and analyzing course materials, using and understanding. Anyway, I guess I was curious how it's.
It can be addressed in class.
What?
How it can be addressed in class, how these can be addressed in class.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. This is a very, this is the question.
And how we're defining our students when we look at these.
This is exactly the question that we're raising now. What strategies do you think we can use in order to do this within the context we are in?
Okay.
I don't know if anybody would like to share something, or maybe I can start by reflecting what I'm doing. Let me just allow 1 more minute if somebody would like to raise their hand and share something. Okay, now I have here Miss Karen. Yes, please, Miss Karen, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I think what the gentleman is alluding to is that we're dealing with students who have spent almost all of their lives just being taught to memorize or being encouraged to memorize, never being challenged in each of these areas, these things that you're talking about. So although they sound really good, how do you undo so many years of what they've been conditioned to do? So
a very important point. Thank you very much, Ms. Karen.
This is very challenging because I'm quite sure
it is.
I struggle. And the second question, and the second issue is are these things applicable to skill courses such as the PYP courses? Number one. So first thing, how do you undo years and years of conditioning, of learning, quote unquote learning, where they're not used to being challenged on a higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy? When you try to ask these questions, they just stare and look at you as if you're speaking in Greek. So I'm not saying this to sound, I'm not trying to sound negative. I'm just
No, I understand. I
I'm
understand.
sharing with you the reality of what we deal with. And a lot of times teachers become, I know me, for me, I'm always looking at ways to try to do things better. And I'm looking at what you're saying with these 4 themes, and I'm always trying to find ways. But even with doing it, students still don't respond as much. I don't know how to deal with that.
Thank you very much. You raised 3 important points that are very important, Ms. Karen. Number one, of course, that this is applied in a different part of the world. So may we consider adaptation? May we consider making some changes to suit our context? That's a very much a valid question. Maybe, we need to try in our class and see. Maybe. This is one thing. Another thing you talked about, how can we, again, related to context, people have been trained to learn a certain way, and then now we're making them learn another way. I think this is part of the beauty of what we're doing, the job. For me, it's this is part of the challenge, is that you're trying to really serve these people, these students. They have not maybe been trained in the proper way, and you're trying to make the shift. And I understand totally that you're teaching at the preparatory year program, which is the most challenging part. I mean, when they come to me, for example, in seniors, you would have already done the magic. But I understand. So I do understand. Also, at the writing classes that are at the beginning, like ENG 101, still trying to adapt. I see a better version, by the way, much better version in junior and senior students, I have to admit. But because of, thanks to what you are doing, I'm seeing a better version in seniors and junior. You see, it's working. It's working. You may not see the result, but it's coming. So this is how I see it, really, because I've taught different levels, and I've seen the difference. I think the third point you raised is, does it work in skills courses or is it only in content courses? I would say both, having taught both classes. Because of time, I would just go on to and reflect, because I thought today, as you know, we can always use these indicators to reflect on the performance of our institution, the performance of our department, and its performance of me as a teacher in class for one course. So let me do this, and then I will go on and listen to more people. This is what I've done today. I try to look at my class, my own class, what I'm doing, and it is ELP 408, English for Political Communication. And I thought, am I really doing this? Well, I thought, for example, higher order learning. And again, of course, you can take something at a very complicated, sophisticated level, and you can take it at a very simpler level. So for example, I remember that my class, part of what they're learning is how to make political campaigns or political speeches. And I remember when we were being trained that they have to go and learn about terror groups and how their effect in different countries of the world. And then they would choose a certain country and they would imagine that they escaped from this terror group. And they've been invited to the United Nations to deliver a speech to explain the misery they are suffering under this group, the horrible time that their family and they have been through, and then ask the United Nations to try to support their community. Well, I think this was quite a cognitively challenging task, because they needed to learn about terror groups that they never heard of before, back Boko Haram, for example, in Nigeria, Taliban, etc. I mean, they had to read and learn about terror groups they did not know. And then they had to watch how a meeting in the United Nations would be like, and in order to choose the language that would fit to that, and then to try to imagine that they were the ones escaping from these terror groups, and to read about some of the stories of people who really suffered under these groups, and so they can write a story that makes sense, that people would believe. And they did it. And they did it. Yes, I'm talking about the very same place, but thanks to you, as I said, people who take the more challenging part, they have done it and they do a beautiful job. Reflective and integrative learning, I thought of one task that I did during COVID-19 with the same class. Now I adapted it a bit because the COVID is not a common thing at all now, but to reflect. And I asked them that they would be invited by the parliament as the ministry, as a minister of health. And they will be representing the Ministry of Health, and they would have to give a report about how the country doing in comparison to other countries, and what is the mortality rate, what is the measures that the Ministry of Health is taking to save the country, what are the problems they are facing, what message do you want to convey to the parliament. This is a place where they had to reflect on the situation they were going through. They had to integrate so much information from different parts in order to give this report and to act as the Minister of Health. I remember one of the batches, one of the classes that I did this with, it was during the lockdown, and it was still starting online teaching. And I remember they insisted then on opening cameras themselves, not by the university. The university had not dictated that yet, just to show me that they are wearing professionally and they're acting like the minister, you know, they do look like ministers, I remember. Learning strategies, one of the things, for example, that I thought, yes, I am doing this to an extent. Again, I'm not saying I'm doing it 100%, by the way. I'm reflecting and I'm saying, I'm doing this to some extent, maybe I need to increase. I'm doing this to little extent, you know. Is that sometimes they are given speeches and they are asked to analyze it for some models that explain propagandistic methods that speakers use during giving speeches. And they try to find that and they try to analyze the speeches. It's not easy at all at the beginning, by the way, but step by step, they analyze more. One thing I think I'm not doing well in my class, these I'm doing to some extent, and maybe I need to build on more these kinds of activities. But then something that I've realized that I maybe want to work on more is quantitative reasoning. We only learned about something called the number game as a method that, you know, people in politics use in order to manipulate others. No, I haven't. I would say when I was preparing my session, I have not really given them enough training on how to use this method or how not to manipulate others, but at least to understand and not to be influenced by this kind of manipulation, or how it can be integrated properly in political discourse. So this is a class in our university. And I'm not saying it's working 100% correct. I put that as yellow because I'm not doing this properly. I need to think of something if I want to work on this in my class. And of course, not all courses have to cater for everything, right? But you have to be aware, part of my reflection, am I really covering which part and which part I'm skipping out, but I'm conscious that I'm skipping it out. Actually, I was not conscious before reflecting today to prepare for this workshop that I'm not doing my part here because it is very important for political discourse. I hope the idea gets closer to you, and maybe you would try to do the same thing for one of your courses later and think, how much am I doing here? 50%, 20%, etc. I know that some people were raising their hands to comment about the higher orders. So we still have time before I move on to the following one. If somebody else would like to share, definitely. Anybody would like to? I think somebody was raising their hand. Okay, so if this is fine, then let's go on with more indicators. Maybe that one was a bit of a question mark because we don't know how our students are coming from a background where they were not trained to be academically challenged and enjoy it. But again, we can think about it as we said. And Mel is raising his hand again before I move on to the following point. Yes, please, Mel, go ahead.
Yeah, I do think I have an example.
Yes, please.
Learning, well, in the critical thinking classes, we looked at visual metaphors. And so the students would create their own visual metaphors. So now to create different ideas and actually to learn how in advertisements, political propaganda, et cetera, images are manipulated to create certain ideas. So it can be done. And for the reflective and the integrative learning, I think that In the writing courses, when we do, say, seminars, or in my case, we do like a whole group workshops, and we put one student's essay or paragraph or drafts up on the screen, and then we discuss it as a class. So we reflect as a class, and it's definitely collaborative. And so that gets them to connecting to the course materials, because then the most important text in the class is their own writing and what they're doing.
Definitely, definitely, I agree. Excellent examples, Mel. Thank you very much. See, you're already doing it. You're already doing it, but maybe you're aware that your students are still at a certain level, so you're doing it now at 20%, but then when they pass on to the higher level, people will start increasing, thanks to you, to 50% of doing this and so on. So thank you very much. Yes, excellent example. Okay, I'll move on, and maybe people would like to share in the following indicators. That we finished 4 indicators, and the 4 were under academic challenge. 2 other indicators of engagement in higher education is learning with peers. And here we have 2 indicators under this theme. Collaborative learning, I think we'll all relate to this. Collaborating with peers in solving problems and mastering difficult material deepens understanding and prepares students to deal with the messy, unscripted problems they encounter during and after college. Working on group projects, I think we all do that. Asking others for help with difficult materials or explaining it to others. Working through course material in preparation for exams all represent collaborative learning activities. I think, again, we're all doing this, but to different levels. And always the challenge is, how do we make sure that each one is participating? And I'm sure we all have our different strategies and plans to work around this problem. But knowing my colleagues, I know this is a very common practice. The second part of learning with peers is discussions with diverse others. And what does that diverse others mean? Colleges and universities afford students new opportunities to interact with and learn from others with different backgrounds and life experiences. So it doesn't have to be their own colleague, classmates all the time. Interactions across difference, both inside and outside the classroom, I like here outside the classroom, confer educational benefits and prepare students for personal and civic participation in a diverse and interdependent world. Now, would anybody like, again, to comment on that? Or would you like me to reflect first? Whatever you like. Again, I will look at the names here and see if anybody would like to share their hands. Okay, so let me reflect on my course, and then I'll be very happy to listen to others. I also looked at my course and I thought, am I doing this? Okay, and collaborative learning, I said, yes, I'm doing some balance between individual and collaborative assignments, but actually in class, I have to admit, I'm not doing enough collaborative work. I have to say that. Most of the interaction that I'm doing is student to class. It is true that students in my class speak a lot, but it's always student class. It's not pairs, groups, and then I change. It's always, this kind of interaction. So this is a yellow thing for me, something I need to work on, I think, to improve engagement in my class, in this course. The second one, discussion with diverse others. This is something I'm doing, let's say, to 20%, but I'm very happy to share with you an opportunity that I got, and I'm making use of it. And my students, if you should have seen them really last session and how happy they were finally with English or political communication. What happened is somebody I know in the English and Culture department in Konkuk University, South Korea, and we started talking about doing some kind of student exchange. And of course, there is no time, right? It's Ramadan, Eid, and then exams. What kind of activity we really have time for? And then we came up with this idea. Why not do something called Saudi Arabian, South Korean cultural webinar. And in this webinar, it will last only for 2 hours. It will be on May 11th. This is an invitation for everybody. It will be on Zoom online. And what we will do is in line with Vision 2030. And there was, I've come to know that there were similar similar aspirations also in South Korea. The two countries are very keen now on improving tourism. So my students and the other students as well, my students were going to give for 1 hour, make a project, make presentations, whatever they're going to make, and they're going to say why visit Saudi Arabia. So their job will be, because this event will be open to all the members of the two universities. So their job will be to try to persuade South Koreans, the students, the faculty members, everybody, why should they visit Saudi Arabia? And you should have seen my students, how happy they were last time in class. While dividing the task, you will talk about the tourist attractions. You will talk about what are the procedures you need to follow to come to Saudi Arabia. You will talk about the culture, put the food with you. You will talk about, and they started dividing the work, and suddenly they were making up their own folder. I did not have to ask for it. And some student was taking notes for me, because we had to come up with rubric, and we had to come up with, you know, how the scores will be, how they will be marked. Somebody was writing everything and sending me an email, Dr. Dina, this is the summary of the discussion we had. Please, the rubric has to be like this, put two model. And I couldn't believe it. And I thought, yes, I mean, discussion with diverse others outside the class, something different. And they were very happy, because, I mean, you know, if you take English for political communication, what better thing you can be than to be a diplomat and represent your country? You know, this is exactly what they will be doing. So I was lucky to have this opportunity, I have to say, and to get the approval of the college and everything. But I thought, yes, true. They were highly engaged all of a sudden. So yeah, okay. So if somebody would like to share again their strategies, their stories, their experience with these two indicators, please do. I have something in the chat, I know. Are they interested in learning Korean? They are, but I mean, maybe this is plans for the future. Just because of the time constraints, we thought this is what we can do this time, but we have, inshallah, more plans for the future. I mean, my colleague in South Korea and me, for better, more exchange ideas or online ideas. And you would like to share their stories, their experiences with these ones, tips, strategies we can learn to improve these indicators? Okay. I know reflection is a big part of engagement. So, I mean, I understand that you may be reflecting now and thinking. So, all right, I will go on, and you can definitely participate later when you have completed your reflection. Okay, now we've done now with 2 themes and 6 indicators. Somebody's raising their hand, I'm sorry. Oh, Orkida, please.
Hello.
Hi, Orkida.
This is very interesting, a very interesting discussion. And we've had our discussions together, you and me, and you know how passionate I am about this topic, of course. I was just thinking ahead of how it would be amazing that everybody would, that as you are doing now, you have already started, that we collect all our ideas and we can then mold it into the reflection mode, and then we can come up with our collective reflections. So maybe we can do this collaborative learning together as teachers and see how engaging it can be, because I think everybody is very engaged in this as well. And then I think it would reflect very well on our students' activities.
Thank you so much, Orkida. And actually, let me share 2 comments. One comment, if you search the NSSE online, you will find strategies already made there. So it's just, I didn't want to put them because I knew we were doing so much, and I wanted to just share our own experiences.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking, that sharing what we are doing would be much better than getting something to suggest to others. Because that's the core of engagement, that you are actually asking people to have their own input, and I think it makes
and then you're reflecting your own context.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Now we will say
that's
this
what I'm saying.
From Saudi Arabia.
Yes, we can have our own database. We can start something amazing here. And
I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely, excellent idea. Thank you so much, Orkida. Yes, sure. Okay, now I'll move on because of time. Now we're done, as I said, 2 themes and 4 and 6 indicators. Now we will move to the following theme, experiences with faculty members, okay? This is part of the engagement. And here we have 2 indicators again. The first indicator is student-faculty interaction. Interactions with faculty can positively influence the cognitive growth, development, and persistence of college students through their formal and informal roles. Teachers, advisors, mentors, faculty members model intellectual work, promote mastery of knowledge and skills, and help students make connections between their studies and their future plans. So this is the meaning of student-faculty interaction. The second indicator is effective teaching practices. Student learning is heavily dependent on effective teaching, organized instruction, clear explanations, illustrative examples, effective feedback on student work, or represent aspects of teaching effectiveness that promote student comprehension and learning. I like to read this again, if you don't mind. Organized instruction, clear explanations, illustrative examples, effective feedback. I'm sure there are more, but these are like, you know, key ones. So again, I looked at my class and I started thinking, how much am I doing of this? Well, we have class discussions. We have a lot of class discussions. I do provide feedback, although I have to say that the last assignment, I was pretty late. I have to admit this. This reduces from my engagement. I think I have room for improvement here. It's not the teaching with empathy that we discussed before. I mean, my students, I have, alhamdulillah, a good relationship with them. But it's, you know, how much am I really increasing the interaction? How much I'm finding rooms for more interaction? The type of engagement I saw in my last class when we were preparing for this South Korean thing. This is something I marked for myself. For effective teaching practices, I always like the word variety. I've always liked this word. I don't like the same pattern. But then, am I doing it? As I told you, with my interaction with my students, I think I need some improvement there. But I am involving in my class, in this class, project-based learning, collaborative learning, and a lot of scaffolding. And the scaffolding here becomes because most of the students I've seen, not all of them, come to class with no interest to learn about politics and no background about what's happening in the world. And I don't teach them politics, but I mean, to learn how to communicate and to understand political discourse, you have to have some knowledge about what's happening on in Russia, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in Egypt, what happened, you know, in Malaysia, some, you know, context in which you can explore political discourse in. So I think this is working fine for me. Okay, this is my reflection about my course. Would you like to share anything before we move to the last theme? Let me see if somebody's raising their hand. Or anything in the chat. Okay, all right. Okay, let me move on then, and then maybe there will be discussion towards the end. The following, the last actually theme NSSE have for student engagement is campus environment. And it has 2 indicators. One of them is quality of interactions. And what they define this as college environments characterized by positive interpersonal relations. And these positive interpersonal relations promote student learning and success. Students who enjoy supportive relationships with peers, advisors, faculty, and staff are better able to find assistance when needed and to learn from and with those around them. I like a lot the word supportive relationships. And since I have a couple of colleagues here from the PYP, this is, I think, extremely essential for those students who are experiencing their first year at college. I remember my first year in college, it was quite something to remember. My first semester, I was at a loss, kind of going around knowing what is going on. And I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what to do. So I mean, you're really doing a great job. First year, especially students, you know, this is a very challenging experience, very challenging experience. So quality of interactions on campus with everybody, you know, helps you to get support. Supportive environment, and this is defined as institutions are committed to student success. How can you be committed to student success? That you provide support and involvement across a variety of domains, cognitively, socially, and physically. These commitments foster higher levels of student performance and satisfaction. This engagement indicator summarizes students' perceptions of how much an institution emphasizes services and activities that support their learning and development. You may wonder, when I came to reflect about this in my course, this is campus environment. This is not under my control, right? So I was, yeah, I mean, I was also thinking, well, this is not really under my control. So how can I really reflect on that in my class? But this is how I did it. I'm not sure it's the right thing, if there is a right and wrong thing, but this is how I did it actually. I thought that for quality of interactions, and quality of interactions here means the quality of interaction people have with peers, advisors, faculty, etc. I can at least talk about myself. And in my last session about teaching with empathy, I discussed some of the strategies I use that I think are a bit working in terms of teaching with empathy. I think I can give myself a tick here, but then I need definitely more work towards supportive relationships. How can I help my students as peers in class have supportive relations to one another? Maybe one thing I did in this South Korean thing is that I told them I will consider how much you support people who are working on other parts of the presentation in my evaluation. But this was marks. I did not want to do it with marks. But anyway, I need to think of strategies of how I think also to help build supportive relationships for my students. For effective teaching practices, I thought what I can do, not effective teaching practices, I'm sorry, for the supportive environment, I thought what I could really do is that I could guide my students to the support services available on campus. So, I mean, if you don't know how to take your courses, maybe I can just guide them to the advisor or to the advising center. Maybe if I can, I know now that there is the WTC, the Writing and Tutoring Center. Maybe now that I know that my students are struggling with something, why not that I can refer them to this? Maybe my students, I can also refer them to research labs. If one of them wants to have this research experience that later on she can go to the postgraduate school, maybe I can tell her the opportunity. I was so surprised that people don't know the opportunities that are available on campus. They don't know. I mean, I was so surprised when I told my students about the research lab opportunity that they didn't know it. And when I told them the semester abroad, some students have heard about it. So maybe this could be done to support supportive environment. That's what I thought I could do. So, in summary, these are the, as I said, the themes and the indicators that NSSE uses. And based on that, of course, they have surveys with thousands of people, and they make analyses, as I said, and they try to analyze the student engagement in institutions, and they relate that as an indicator of quality education. And students even sometimes check these figures when they are published publicly before they choose which university they should join. Interesting. I mean, I don't know when that will come, but sometimes, I mean, when you have a trend coming, later on you find it coming here to our part of the world. So maybe it will be coming soon, I'm not sure. So as I said, this is what I was trying to share today, these indicators that could help us reflect on our performance or on our institution and give suggestions to the institution, whatever way you want to take it. But I also want to remind you of something before I open for discussion, is that NSSE also gives, as I said, something called 6 high impact areas. I did not have time to cover this, but you will find them, by the way, very interesting, because they talk about service learning, they talk about capstone courses, they talk about different strategies that have very high impact have been found on student engagement. So if anybody would like now to share their reflections, to share their suggestions, to share strategies they use and they work for engagement, we have 5 minutes. So of course, I'll be very happy. We will all be very happy to listen. or if you'd like to share in the chat, of course. Let me, while you're thinking, just I want to put in the chat the link for that you need to fill out, if you don't mind, for the certificate. Okay, I'm putting the link for the certificate in the chat, and you can please fill it up, fill it in to get the certificate. Anybody would like to share comments, questions, reflections? You can write in the chat, or you can just raise your hand. All right, so I would have to just thank everyone for joining the session. I hope that it has, we might not, by the way, accept, and we don't have to accept a particular definition of student engagement, but when we have a survey that has been going on for so many years with so many people, yes, it is in a different context, but there may be some part of the truth there. Well, this is up to you, but as I told you, what I really liked about that is that this complex concept of student engagement has become for me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so I can start, looking at each one of them separately and try to see how well I'm doing here, what shall I do to improve, or my university to improve, or my department to improve. I hope that you found the session somehow interesting, and please, I'll be here for the coming 4 minutes. So if you'd like to share questions, comments, fine. If you'd like just to fill in the form for the certificate and we can talk later, definitely you're most welcome. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you very much. I hope that I'm very happy that you like it. Thank you, Sheena. Thank you. Thank you, Jamal. You're always so supportive. Thank you. I think I can stop recording. Okay, Nasra. Yes, sorry. Yes, please, Nasra, go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Dina.
Hi.
This goes back to one of your questions earlier and what Karen was saying about rote memorization. I found something that helped me a lot with my students, because you would ask them a question or ask them to do a presentation, and they would just do something totally memorized. And so what I started doing was asking them a lot of questions. And at the beginning, that really threw them off because they're not used to being asked questions. They think, okay, I'm done with my presentation. Why are you asking me questions? But the more questions I asked, the more they started thinking and engaging with what they were saying. And I found towards the end of the semester, they were memorizing less and actually just speaking freely about a topic after researching it, instead of memorizing certain paragraphs for certain phrases.
And you are increasing, you're not only teaching them something, but you're increasing their engagement, because now they are not just, memorizing something, but they would be really analyzing, reflecting, integrating all the things that we were talking about now.
Yeah, and so, they're more interested in it.
And I know that you may at the beginning, say, oh, am I really putting them off? But no, I'm sure that, I'm sure that you had this experience, right? Where we had teachers would not be very happy with at the beginning. And then sometimes after you graduate 2 or 3 years later, you just remember, oh, what she really did was really help me. I remember this when I was teaching business writing, and several of my students, were very unhappy with the amount of writing they would do. And then after graduation, they said, Dr. Dina, we write memos very well. So I said, thank you, see, it works. Okay, so Urkida, yes, please.
Thinking again of what everybody's saying and what Nasra here is saying, I'm thinking of this space that we create with the co-curricular activities and the extracurricular activities. Again, you know how much involved I am with that. It's amazing how students outside the classroom would just own it becomes something of their own. It's as if the class is the teacher's space. And once you get them into an extracurricular or co-curricular, they do amazing things. And I really like it that in the process of the preparation, they would be so absorbed into what they are doing to a point that they don't even want to share with me. And I think that they are not doing anything. And then all of a sudden I found that they were working day and night. Somebody fainted because they didn't get enough sleep to prepare the movie they were making for the film festival event I'm talking about, of course. So extracurricular and co-curricular, yes.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And it is there, you know, this idea of inside and outside the classroom. Yes, let's try to give them, it's just sometimes the opportunities are not easy to find, but we'll try, right? We'll do our best to make sure that, because, you know, once they are engaged, you also enjoy what you're doing, right? So it's once you enjoy it, you also feel better about yourself. So it's also kind of, it's not that we're doing it for ourselves only, but partially it's for them and for ourselves as well. How, you know, horrible it is to go to a class that's boring and you have to spend there 1 hour talking. It's really bad for even for our psychological health, the mental health. So it's better to, I think, yes, it's both ways. For good for them, good for us as well. Thank you. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Karen. And thank you very much for being here at this time. Really, thank you very much. Okay, so I think it's time to go. Thank you, and you will receive your certificates very soon via email, inshallah. Thank you very much.